Well, you're looking at the Bank of Canada building here in downtown Ottawa, and we're keeping an eye on the bank for a couple of reasons this week. One is the motion introduced in the House of Commons yesterday to recognize Quebec as a nation, or Quebecois as a nation, and that may have some implications going forward on the dollar, for example. And secondly is the economic statement today by the Minister of Finance, Jim Flaherty. Now, Mr. Flaherty is talking about where the economy is going and where the government policy, of course, is going over the long term, the next decade or so. Now, there also is, or has been, speculation, and we're just prior to his making the announcement right now, but there's been speculation that Mr. Flaherty also is going to talk about some tax changes and maybe even be hinting that we will in fact get income splitting for Canadian couples. That would be a major extension of what he introduced, of course, on Halloween night, which was pension splitting for retired Canadians. So we're going to talk about Mr. Flaherty, the economic statement, the mini budget, and the economy going forward. And joining us on the show right now is John Williamson. He is with the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. And we're going to go directly to John's office. I know he's listening now. John, a couple of questions for you about Mr. Flaherty's statement today. First, has he given us a blueprint, in your estimation, from a taxpayer's point of view, that makes sense in the long term for Canada going forward?
I think the Finance Minister surprised a lot of people today with his announcement that the government will move to pay off its debt in the next generation. This is certainly a good goal, and it's one that I think a lot of Canadians are going to support. Same idea as if we try to pay down our home mortgages. Today the government announced it's going to pay down Canada's monster debt, and that's good news.
Okay, John, so let's talk about taxes. Did you see anything in this statement that gives you some very good indication of where Mr. Flaherty is going in terms of the impact on individual Canadian taxpayers and on families?
I think there's two answers to that question. Mr. Flaherty announced an interesting idea today, which is a tax-back guarantee. As the debt is paid off and interest dollars are freed up, he announced he's going to return that money to Canadians in the form of lower taxes. That's good news. Every year we spend about $34 billion a year on debt interest. That's more than we take away from the GST. That's more than is collected, I should say, from the GST. So that's a pretty good tax cut we're looking at down the road. So that's something we can all look forward to. Where the Finance Minister didn't talk about so much was the notion of immediate tax relief, and I think we're going to have to wait for the 2007 budget for that kind of announcement. But in terms of a long-term vision of returning tax dollars to Canadians, I think he outlined some pretty good, a pretty good painting today in terms of where we're going to go.
So, John, what did Mr. Flaherty not say that you wish he had said? What was left out? What was the glaring omission, if anything?
Well, I think it was the specific short-term tax relief proposals. Whether or not it's a cut in the GST right away, or our preference, lower income tax rates for individual families, or even income splitting. There was no short-term tax announcement today. It looks like we're going to have to wait for the 2007 budget. And again, I think the priority here on behalf of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation has to be bringing down marginal income tax rates.
Now, of course, the next big event, John, is going to be the federal budget. I presume we're going to have it in March, I would think. What does the economic statement tell you today about what Mr. Flaherty is going to be putting in that next budget?
Well, given the size of the surplus, and there's going to be a larger surplus this year than anticipated, I think we're going to see the 2007 budget containing tax relief measures. The Finance Minister has been talking about the need to return surplus dollars to Canadians, and I hope he'll fulfill that pledge. And I think every time he says he's going to cut taxes, we're that much closer, meaning he can't back off on it very easily without paying a political price. So we're all hoping that that budget is going to contain some really good tax relief, returning it to families and individuals as a top priority.
Well, John Williamson of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, thank you very much for being on the show.
My pleasure. I look forward to doing it again.
MPtv, of course, will continue to cover Mr. Flaherty like a wet blanket. We'll try and bring you all of his pronouncements and all of the hints that we can find out about what he intends to do with our taxation system and the economy. Many people believe right now that we are perhaps going into a period of slower growth. The real estate market, the residential real estate market, definitely has softened. Unemployment may be going up a little bit in the next little while. Interest rates may as well be going up a bit. And of course, the wild card is the American economy, because it has softened a lot. They've got a lot of pressures down there, and it may impact on us here. We'll just have to wait and see. And of course, Mr. Flaherty, more than any of us, is going to have to be coping with these changes that will occur. And of course, the expectations that this government, the Stephen Harper government, will actually be cutting taxes in a meaningful way. There's a large expectation for that to happen, and a desire, of course, on the part of all of us to pay less money. Once again, thanks to John Williamson for being on the show, and we'll talk to you soon.